In this tutorial video, we're going to be building the Roman Arch of Titus from the 1st century AD. So we're going to be operating off of a 17 by 11 rectangle. And as always, all materials are going to be linked in the description for this video. So we're first going to start off with a 4 wide bank of polished diorite stairs. So we're going to come from the edge of our box, and we're just going to be placing 4 stairs side by side in each corner. Then we're going to start to fill in this gap in the middle. So we're going to fill this in just with some polished diorite blocks. Now once you've filled this in, we're going to go to the next layer. We're just going to do the same. We're just going to take some polished diorite blocks, but we're going to leave just 2 blocks on each side in the front where we're going to put some upside down stairs. So just note, we're leaving the stairs at the front, and then we're going to put some 2 upside down stairs in that gap there. It's just going to add a little bit of extra depth to the very base of our Triumphal Arch of Titus. Now you want to make sure that this part of the build is absolutely correct, because if we don't get this correct, it's going to be very difficult to do the rest of the build. So it's going to have to be this wide, and then we're going to have a 7 wide gap in the middle. So just double check that you've done that correctly, and then we'll move on to the next step. So this next step, we're going to start building the columns. So I'm going to go 5 up with quartz pillars in these corners here, and I'm going to do that for all 4 corners of the 2 bases over here. This is going to help us build the bottom part of this archway, but it's also just going to help us have a general guide for the rest of the build. So the columns are going to be taller than this, but this is the undecorated portion of the column, which we're going to be doing right here. Then we're going to take some just normal diorite blocks, and we're going to build as so. So we're going to leave 2 blocks there, we're going to go 3 up in the middle here, and then we're going to fill in the back. This front here we should leave, but I'm going to fill it in for now. And then we're going to fill in the middle here. Now we're leaving the 2 blocks at the front here, just around the side of the columns, because we're going to put some stairs in there later on. Now on this side, what we're going to do is we're just going to fill in, do the same as we did on the other side. So just filling in 3 blocks high, leaving the 2 at the front, but we're going to be leaving this gap in the middle over here. And just filling in the back as so. Then you're going to want to take some diorite stairs and just place them, make a little square as so. So you just place 1 down and then 2 upside down. So 2 normal and then 2 upside down facing each other. Then you're going to come to the middle. So just this bit here, we're going to make sure that's empty. And what we're going to do, we're going to fill this in with just a mix of polished diorite and polished diorite stairs. Just a random mix to look like there's some sculpture in there. And then just see what looks right. In this version that we're going to be building here, this is the kind of stereotypical what it looks like now in the modern day. We're going to do a quick coloured iteration at the end of the video. So just for this next bit, we're just going to put another layer of polished diorite blocks, just to fill in that top bit there, but leaving that block on top, because we're going to be doing something else that's different over there. Now take some upside down polished diorite stairs, and we're going to be building them like so. So we're going to have 5 stairs here, so 3 normal facing, and then we're going to curl them around at the edges. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to take some pear oak shelves, just in this bottom over here, just put 2 in each side, and you'll be ready to move on to the next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to fill in some bits over here, and then we're going to start to build the archway. So we're just going to fill in just normal diorite blocks in both sides over here. Like so, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Like so. Then what we're going to do is going to put 3 quartz pillar blocks on top over here. So just extend up your quartz pillars by 3 over here. This is going to be the basis for the bottom of the capitals of the column, but also it's going to help us build the archway for this archway. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take just some polished diorite blocks, and we're going to fill in this gap over here. So just fill in all of that. So it's going to be 3 high we're just going to make sure we fill in all of this area over here. This is going to help us build the archway. Now we're going to repeat the same for the other side as well. So we just come to the other side, we're just going to do the exact same thing, fill in this area, just with the polished diorite blocks. Super simple at this stage. Now by mixing the polished diorite and diorite, we just get a little bit of extra texture in this. So it looks like some bits are carved and some bits are more solid blocks, which kind of reflects what is present in real life. Now we're going to start building the archway. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some diorite blocks. We're going to place one with then 3 on top like that. And we're going to extend this all the way across the gap over here. So we've got 3 on top, we're going to leave a gap in the middle, and then we're going to put 1 underneath, like so. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bridge this gap in the middle, but we're going to bridge this gap in the middle with a mix of polished diorite and then diorite like so. So we've got 3 and then 2 like that, and that's going to give us a little bit of extra texture. Then we're going to take some polished diorite stairs and place them upside down like so. Take some normal diorite and just fill in these gaps in between, just with the upside down stairs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place some polished diorite slabs on the bottom of that block at the top there. And then we're going to fill in again just with the diorite slab. So it looks like we've got a little bit of extra texture there in the archway. We can't quite get the exact texture, but that's kind of the best that we can do at the moment in Minecraft. Now we're going to take some pear-like shelves and we're going to place them at the top of these columns here and also in the gap in the middle at the top of the archway. So we're going to want to make sure that we place them on all sides and then in the middle. So once we've done this, we're just going to double check that we've done that, because that's going to help us make sure that we've done it correctly. Then we're going to take some tripwire hooks and we're going to place them on all 3 sides of these columns that are facing outwards, just below the pear-like shelf. So you're going to do that on all 3 sides, like so. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking some pale oak signs, and we're just going to be doing the same. We're going to be placing them all around the edge of the bottom of this column, of all of these different columns, and this just helps to add a little bit of extra texture and a little bit of extra detail to the top of these Corinthian column capitals. Now these are engaged Corinthian columns, so engaged meaning that they actually are physically touching the wall that they are behind. So a non-engaged column is completely disengaged from this archway. So all archways have engaged columns, and they're typically Corinthian columns. Now we're just going to double check that we've done this on all sides. I've realised that on the back we've actually missed out a pear-like shelf, so I'm going to have to fix that. So just make sure that as you go around, you've got all of the different pieces that you need for this, because it's going to be a bit annoying to have to come back later in the video to fix that. So just make sure that you've got everything that's in place, as that's going to really help guide you for the rest of the upper portion of the video. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take polished diorite, and we're going to place them on top of the columns over here, like so. So we're going to place them on top of the columns, and then we're going to bridge the gap in between pretty much like so, with some polished diorite blocks. Now for some of this, you could leave some of this hollow if you're in survival, just to make it a little bit less resource heavy. Then we're going to place some quartz pillars coming across here in the middle, and then we're going to fill in this with diorite. Now you could just not fill this in, it's really up to you. I'm going to fill it in for the purpose of this video. As we get a bit higher, I'm going to leave it a bit hollow, but for now it just helps us have a bit of a guide. Now we're going to take some upside down stairs. We're going to do the tops of the columns, and then we're going to place an upside down stair in the middle of the archway, just above the archway where the quartz blocks are, as so. This is just going to help us finish off the top of the column, and it's going to help us basically bridge the gap to the top of the archway. Okay. So once we've done that, we can move on to the next little bit of the video. So what we're going to do is just going to add some little bits of pear-like signs just in these gaps over here, like so, just to fill out and add a little bit of extra texture and detail to the tops of the columns in that top of the archway. And then we're going to move on to the upper part of the archway. So what we're going to do is we're going to again take some polished diorite blocks, and we're going to place them in this pattern as so. So we're going to be bridging the gaps in between. So we don't actually need those ones in the middle, but we want to have them on top of the columns. And then we want to come inwards as so, like this, on top of the column again, on top of the column, bridge the gap, like so. So you should have a shape that's kind of like this. Then we're going to take some upside down polished diorite stairs, and we're just going to fill in all of these gaps with upside down stairs. So this is now the detail on top of the columns and on top of the archway. And you should get a shape that looks something like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some quartz pillars and we're going to place 3 on top of each of the column corners. So if you follow the column corners from below, we're going to place 3 quartz pillars on top of these. This is going to help us guide basically above of what's going on above. And as you see, a lot of classical architecture, it follows in patterns, so it's quite easy to follow along. So it does look quite complex, but it follows some of the patterns. And just to finish off these top bits here, we're just going to put some pale oak shelves on top of where those upside down stairs are sticking out. Just adds a little bit of extra depth and detail. And then in the middle, we're going to fill this in with 3 high of quartz pillars. Now, this is where all the inscriptions are going to be for your ruler or whatever. In this instance, it's what the inscriptions were on the Arch of Titus. Now in these gaps, we're going to take some smooth quartz blocks. Now you could fill in this gap down here. I'm not going to for the purpose of this video, but we're going to fill this in with some smooth quartz blocks over here. And we're going to do the same on the other side. This just gives it a little indent on the top of the building and adds a little bit of a change in texture as well. And you should get something like this, where it follows upwards and it looks very, very even and yeah, a bit like that. Now we're going to go on top of these, and again, very boring there, you're going to put some polished diorite just to continue the pattern going upwards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some upside down polished diorite stairs. Now you really have to follow along with this bit, because if you don't do it correctly, it's not going to turn out well. So if you place the blocks like that, where you place them along in a line like so, then it works. If you don't, and then you place them inwards and then outwards like this, it's not going to work. So you're going to have to really try and place them exactly how I'm placing them here. You might have to try a couple of times, it's a little bit fiddly, but what you want to get is you want to basically get this sort of pattern where it runs in like that, so it looks like it indents slightly. Then you're just going to place them going around like so for the rest of the top of the archway. So as you go around, we just want to double check that we have those little gaps in that top bit over there. And then the rest of it should be pretty easy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to knock out these corners over here, because it's going to just help us have a bit of a better guide as we work upwards. And then we're going to fill in this with lanterns just so we don't get loads of bats and mobs spawning up here. Then we're going to fill in this gap with diorite. Now this is going to be the very top of the archway, but it's also going to serve as a bit of a guide to place the slabs on top, also the bronze statues or copper statues that we're going to be putting on top of the archway. So just going to be filling that in as such. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some polished diorite slabs and we're going to follow along the pattern of the columns, and we're just going to follow all along the top. So leave that gap there, come across here. We're going to make sure that it's meeting on top of all of the columns that are sticking out over here, like so. So it looks, you know, it's like a square, but it's got some sticky out corners on it where we're going to put some armor stands for some statues. And you should get a sort of shape like that. Now what we're going to do is in the corner, we're going to be putting armor stands facing outwards. We want to make sure that they face outwards, so the armor is facing the correct way. And then we should be ready to move on to adding the copper statue on top. So normally this would have 4 horses, but it actually is, I think, looks better if you put 3 horses on top. Putting a chariot, it's not particularly accurate to the Roman Empire to have a 3-horse carriage on one of these. They typically would have had 4 horses, but we're going to be doing something like this. So we're going to take some stairs, some slabs and some upside down stairs, put some more slabs like so, place them along the back as well. And then we're going to put some mangrove trapdoors along the side that are going to look like some wheels for our chariot. We're going to put some seated golem statues as well. So what you're going to want to do is you just want to place it and then place it down so it looks like it's sitting down. And then we're going to take some copper slabs, just this cut one over here. And then we're going to want to just place them like so, bridging across. Now if you come to the back, we're going to have a tail, so that's going to be an upside down stair that sticks out. Looks a little bit like a horse's tail. And then we're going to take some slabs to the front. So we're going to put one there, two there on the front of the horse. And then we're going to put 3 slabs on top, like so, at the front. And there you basically have your 3-horse chariot arrangement. We're going to place an armor stand facing forwards, like this, so it looks forwards out towards the horses. And then we're going to put some copper armor on this armor stand. And we're also going to do the same with all of the statues in the corner, just to finish out the top of this archway. Okay. Now for the final step, we're just going to add some inscription on the front, so on the Atticus element of the archway. So just that front big panel, we're going to add something. But as you can see, we've got some nice statues that sat on top of the archway. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to add some pear oak buttons and some pear oak signs, and I'm just going to place them literally randomly along the front here, just indented 1 block from the edge. Just totally randomly across here. Now you could just write things on the signs if you wanted to, if you really wanted to, like, you know, copy exactly what is written on the real life Arch of Titus in Rome. But I'm just going to do this. I'm not really going to read it, so I'm just going to place these randomly. It kind of gets the same effect. Typically this would have been painted in gold or gilded in gold in the original version, so I'm going to show that later in the coloured version, but for the moment I'm just going to be doing just the white version, just so you can get what it looks like today and what looks stereotypically Roman as such. So it kind of looks like there's something written up the top there. You can't quite read it obviously, but you know, it gives some sort of insinuation that there's something up there. And there you have it. That is the non-coloured version, just the normal quartz and diorite version of the Archway of Titus. Now for the coloured version, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be replacing a couple of blocks here. So I've replaced the bottom ones with just some prismarine. Any signs I'm just replacing with the bamboo signs. I'm going to be placing the warped wood in parts of the columns and inwards there, and bits of bamboo, just to get a different detail. But yeah, there you have it. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed building it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and until the next one guys, goodbye.